This morning, it's my pleasure to welcome to the WGGH studios a man who has grown with the Pepsi-Cola Company, has grown with Southern Illinois, and has grown with Marion. This morning, WGGH salutes Harry L. Crisp, Sr. Mr. Crisp, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you in our studios. Welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Nice to be here. Appreciate having the opportunity to come out and discuss our business with you.
You are president of the Marion Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company.
Yes, I'm president.
Now, does the president just get to sit around in a big office and just kind of and drink Pepsi and not do anything else?
Well, he has a choice of Dr. Pepper or Pepsi-Cola.
Is that right? How many different flavors do you bottle out of that magnificent plant?
Well, of course, we started out in 1936 with Pepsi-Cola.
Uh-huh.
That we received our first franchise from the parent company then, 39 years ago, Jim. And we've added flavors and Dr. Pepper, and in one territory we have 7-Up in Mattoon territory.
Mm-hmm. How many actual bottling plants are involved in the Crisp buildings?
we started, like I said, in 1936, and we operated only in Illinois, in 21 counties, from Cairo to Centralia, and from Shawneetown to Chester, until 1966. Then we purchased the Dr. Pepper plant at Murfreesboro, and one in Mount Vernon, and one in Metropolis. And then we've added 8 other plants since that time. And we added Robinson, Illinois, the Pepsi-Cola plant in Robinson, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, Fulton, Kentucky, Martin, Tennessee, Blytheville, Arkansas, which includes Waverly, Tennessee, and of course we have warehouses in DuQuoin, Metropolis, Cairo, and Centralia. But all of our bottling is done here, with the exception of Mattoon. We have bottling equipment in Mattoon, where we have the Pepsi-Cola, Dr. Pepper, and 7-Up franchise.
When you were first starting out in this business, did you dream that you would ever that your organization would ever be that far?
Absolutely not, Jim. We had no. We could see that we had a good future in the beverage business. Twice as much for a nickel too at that time.
That's true.
But we didn't dream that we'd get up to between 4 and 5 million cases a year, which we have now, and have so many employees and expand as we have.
That little slogan, twice as much for a nickel too, twice as much as what? Who were they combating back then?
Well, mostly we've had a lot of competitors in our business. In our territory that we serve now, we have 41 different competitors in our territory. And we were not known so well back in those days as we are now. Now we claimed in Southern Illinois to be #1 in the take-home market. We're constantly making surveys all the time, and we find that our beverages have more acceptance with the consumer than any other beverage.
Is that right?
That's right.
Well, that's very
In
exciting.
the take-home market. Now, that doesn't include the cold bottle market. But the take-home market, we're #1 in Southern Illinois.
And you'd like for people to start asking for the cold bottle of Pepsi, please, wouldn't you?
Well, of course, yes. We'd like to see them take a bath in it.
Well, if you can get some of your consumer advisors to come up with some kind of a Pepsi bath and promote it properly, well, I imagine somebody'd try it.
Well, we've seen a lot of changes in the beverage business in these 39 years, Jim. Back in those days, beverages were not used or consumed like they are today. It's a tradition now, American way of life. And I think that radio and television has caused the demand.
Should we take the blame or the credit?
Well, whichever you want. It's a nice business to be in. It's very highly competitive, but it's profitable if you work hard at it.
That's always the secret, isn't it? If you work hard.
Yeah, if you work hard at it. It's a lot of work in the beverage business.
I want to talk about that a little bit later on. Who started Pepsi-Cola very first and when?
Pepsi was started back in North Carolina, in Bern, B-E-R-N, North Carolina, back in the late 1800s by a druggist by the name of Caleb Bradham. And he concocted the drink in the drugstore and started, but it was not registered until 1900, and we're 75 years old now. And they had their ups and downs back in those days, financially, changing hands. It was once owned by the Gus Candy Company, which was Loft. A fellow named Gus was president of the company, and it was Loft Candy Company at that time. Back in the 20s. And then Al Steele came with the company in 1940 from a competitor, and things seemed to be straightening out after 1940, and Pepsi took off in a big way.
Really came alive.
It came alive, yeah.
The name Pepsi-Cola, what is that derived from? Pepsi.
Well, at one time it was sold as a tonic. Of course, the cola is derived from a cola nut that you find in Africa, in the West Indies. And the Pepsi was used as a tonic by this druggist back in the 1900s. But it's no longer considered as a tonic. It's only as a soft drink and refreshing.
But it's good for what ails you.
It's good for what ails you if you consume enough of it.
Okay. All righty. Now, before you were in the Pepsi-Cola bottling business, you had some other businesses, did you not?
Yes, Jim, I came to Marion in 1926.
From where?
From Franklin County. And I opened up a poultry and egg business with a chicken hatchery on South Court Street. And stayed with that business, and then I was elected city commissioner in 1931 for a 4-year term. And in 1935 I was elected mayor and served as mayor for 12 years to 1935 to 1947. But I continued in the poultry and egg business until 1936, until we started with Pepsi-Cola. And then we sold that business and stayed with the soft drinks.
And you started in Pepsi-Cola when?
1936.
1936.
39 years ago.
What was Pepsi? Was there a franchise in this area at that time?
No franchise in this area, and no Pepsi-Cola in this territory at that time. And we had to explain to the people that it was a soft drink and not a hair tonic. And we have watched it grow from nothing, zero, to where it is today.
Okay, and where it is today, by the way, for those of you who have never had the opportunity to drive out west of Marion on Old Highway 13, that's exactly where it is, in a magnificent, relatively new facility, only about 5 years old or so, isn't it?
It's 1969 when we opened the plant, Jim.
It doesn't seem that long to me.
No. We claim the distinction of having the largest soft drink plant in Illinois south of Chicago, located here in Marion.
How many square feet are under roof?
Well, the main production plant is approximately 3 acres, but we have the service department and building, and also the office building separate from the production. And we have 20 acres set aside for the soft drink business out there. And we operate, I might tell you, Jim, that we operate in the territory that we serve, which includes Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, and Illinois, and Kentucky, 89 route trucks, and some 25 supervisors and district managers. So we have over 100 units on the highway every day.
How many million miles do those units rack up over a year?
Well, we cover a lot of mileage, and we have 10,000 customers. But it's interesting to note that less than 500 of our accounts uses about 40% of our business, does about 40% of our business on less than 500 accounts out of the 10,000. So we have accounts actually that we service that we lose money on.
Yeah, when you get down to really looking at the profit
Yes.
loss kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, how many employees do you have at the Marion plant itself?
Including your service department office and the production, we have close to 100 Marion employees and 300 overall.
And how many did you have when you first started?
Well, we just had less than 10
Uh-huh.
when we first started.
Okay, what do you think, well, you know why your company has grown, the crisp bottling company, so on, has grown. Tell us what it took to become successful.
Well, Jim, the ingredient for a success, I think, is nothing in the world except a lot of hard work and good management.
Mm-hmm.
There's no substitute for work or management.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the early days of our business, we worked from early morning till late at night. We didn't watch the clock, and we didn't pay any attention to fringe benefits as they ask you now when they apply for a job. So it's no secret to the success of a business if you got the proper management and willing to put out the work.
Okay, now these are the rewards then of what we call the free enterprise system.
That's absolutely true. The free enterprise system is, in this country, Jim, is something that we can be proud of.
Do you think that the free enterprise system is understood by most Americans?
Absolutely not. They depend too much on the government
And,
not enough on the industry.
Okay, now you hear people though saying, well, we ought to let the government take care of things because that way everybody would be equal. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a socialist way of looking at things.
And of course they're right. We'd be equally poor.
We'd all be, but you could take all the money in the world and put it back, distribute it out equally, and in a few years it'd be back in the hands of a few on account of the management and the work they're able to put out.
That's a very good statement,
Yeah.
and I've heard that only a few times, and it explains exactly why there are some people wealthy and other people not wealthy in America. Apparently, it's because some people are willing to throw away the clock, not worry about an 8-hour day, but do the job because there's a hope for some sort of a goal, reaching a goal out there in the future.
Yeah, I think that's right, Jim. You've got to have a goal and try to accomplish something every day.
Does it take courage to...
It takes courage, and it takes a lot of nerve.
Okay, in what way? What requires courage and nerve? What is it about the business or about business that
Well, you
requires
get a satisfaction out of accomplishment in any thing you do. And if you're successful, I think you're proud of it. And if you're a failure, you want to work harder and try to accomplish things. And it's some satisfaction, I think, Jim, in accomplishment.
Do you know, I think people look at you and other successful businessmen and they say, look at there he is, fat cat, got the big car and the nice house and everything. and they talk as if you were maybe born, full blown.
Well, that is not true, Jim. We started with borrowed capital in the business. It was not true that we had everything to start with. We started from scratch, you might say, and where we are today, which we're proud of, and we think we're an important factor in the economy of Marion by having these employees and the amount of taxes we pay and the amount of light bill and phone bill and the water we consume, and all of the revenues that we put out for the city and the county. We feel like we're a big factor in the economy on account of the employment we furnish to the employees.
I want to ask you another question, and maybe you don't have an opinion right now, and maybe it's kind of a tough question for me to toss out at you on the spur of the moment. What do you feel is the biggest threat to free enterprise today?
Well, Jim, there's several, I think. I don't know which one you would term the largest to the free enterprise, unless it's a...
And I don't want to get you in trouble with anybody.
some of the people that their attitude of the American people, they seem to lean. Some of them lean towards not being too energetic and depending too much on the government for accomplishment or for compensation, and willing to work only for a part-time in order to draw compensation for the rest of the year. They're looking forward to that and instead of producing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you feel that you find that, Jim, that a lot of people like to draw their compensation instead of getting out and working?
Yes, I must agree with that.
Yeah.
They sure do. Where does government get its money to pay people who don't work?
Well, it's got to come from the people. Absolutely, you know that. It's got to come back from the people.
Do you think it's possible that government could start taking so much from the working people to give to the people who aren't working, that the working people would finally say, good grief, what's the use?
That it seems that the trend is that way, and I don't know just where it's going to go to. We're in not too healthy a condition at the present time, in my opinion, and the economy is bad. And it looks like today that we might be into another war with Cambodia.
That does seem to be a little sticky over there.
And it's not the best of situation at the present time.
We talk about unemployment and the high rate of unemployment in the United States. Are all of your jobs filled constantly?
No, we have problems getting employees, especially on routes, where there's a certain amount of bookkeeping to be done and a lot of work. And we have problems keeping employees on routes doing a job that they don't like the hours and they don't like the hard work. It's a constant battle of getting employees in our business.
Is it rewarding, though?
It's very
Can
rewarding.
it be rewarding?
Yes, it's rewarding. We have our route men make $10,000 and $12,000 a year delivering soft drinks.
That's not bad.
That's right. But it entails some work.
Yeah.
And that's what most people don't like.
It's a four-letter word, isn't it?
That's right. That's something they stay away from as much as possible.
We talk about unemployment and the high rate of unemployment in the United States. Are all of your jobs filled constantly?
No, we have problems getting employees, especially on routes, where there's a certain amount of bookkeeping to be done and a lot of work. And we have problems keeping employees on routes doing a job that they don't like the hours and they don't like the hard work. It's a constant battle of getting employees in our business.
Is it rewarding, though?
It's very
Can
rewarding.
it be rewarding?
Yes, it's rewarding. We have our route men make $10,000 and $12,000 a year delivering soft drinks.
That's not bad.
That's right. But it entails some work.
Yeah.
And that's what most people don't like.
It's a four-letter word, isn't it?
That's right. That's something they stay away from as much as possible.
Do you, even though we are in sort of a bad situation now, do you feel optimistic about the country and about Southern Illinois area for the future?
Oh, of course, Jim. We've gone through these things before and always come out even stronger. And I think the same thing will happen now. We I'd hesitate to think that we'd finished and that the country's gone to the dogs. It's just not so, and it can't be that way with America. We've got every American's got to produce and live up to the tradition and fight this battle, and we'll come out stronger than ever before, in my opinion.
And it's interesting that there's only one thing that makes a person or a nation strong, and that is overcoming obstacles, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's right. And we've got the brains in this country to overcome all of the problems that we have, and I think we'll come out even stronger than ever before.
I heard a saying along that line not too long ago, and I like it, and it describes why we should not get too upset when we're faced with obstacles. And the saying was, remember, a kite only rises against the wind.
Yeah, that's pretty good saying, Jim. Yeah. Well, we're convinced in our business that things are going to be better. That we're going to overcome all of these problems, and that the country will be even stronger and better than ever before. We'll be back in prosperity in a couple, 3 years, and the attitude of the public will be much different and improved.
We talk about competition in the area of free enterprise, and some people say, well, competition isn't good because somebody always loses. And yet, we're talking about the fact that when you first got into the Pepsi-Cola bottling business, Pepsi was not in this part of the southern Illinois area, and yet it appears to me that not only has your company grown very successfully, but some of the other brand X's, we'll call them, have done all right too.
Yeah, they've done all right, Jim. We're not the only company that has prospered in the soft drink business, but we feel like we've done far above the average in the state. And when you come from nothing up to where we are now, we realize that we've done more than our share, received more than our share of the business, and because we've had lots of competition from the beginning. And I think competition's good for you because it makes you fight it just a little harder. You got to get up early and get going and fight it out with them, and you know what to expect. So I think competition's really good for you, for your business.
It's better for the consumer too, isn't it?
It's better for the consumer. It gives him a better, lower price on the product, and it gives you something to look forward to.
Well, it gives the best product that the manufacturer can possibly make too.
Yeah, yeah, you got to have the right product, of course, and the right name of any product, but you've got to continue to watch the product to see that it is right and that it'll meet the standards of the consuming public.
We were talking earlier about the courage it takes to stay in and build a successful business. And I wonder if you could let your mind go back over the years of your growing Pepsi-Cola bottling business. And do you remember any particular event that you would pinpoint as taking the greatest amount of courage over your career?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just been a continued battle from the beginning, and we have competition even up to now. It's no one thing that I don't recall.
I recall a few years ago your bottling plant was located on North Market Street.
Yes.
Is that where you began originally?
No, we started on West White Street in the building that was owned by Roscoe Malcolm. And then we moved to South Court Street, at 1005 South Court Street.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, in 1956, we moved to North Market Street. And from North Market Street to the present location where we are now with our big plant.
Okay, was any one of those particular moves more difficult to decide to make than any of the others?
Well, I think the biggest decision we made is when we built the plant where we are today.
Why was that such a big decision?
Well, because it involved so much expenditure and investment in our business of over $1 million for the buildings. And at that time, in 1969, we didn't have the volume to justify that we do have now.
Okay, now that's the point I was wanting you to bring out somehow. Again, you had to go on faith that the volume was going to be created just because you had the courage.
We felt like we had the product to do the job and the territory to do it in, and the know-how. And with my son, Harry L. Jr., we felt like they had the proper management and that would justify the investment. And then we started to expand and buy some additional plants, which I mentioned to you a while ago.
But you could have lost the whole thing, couldn't you?
Yeah, we could have, but it was a gamble, Jim, of course. Yeah. But all business is a gamble.
That's right.
And that's where the general public don't realize the gamble that a businessman takes.
Because in America, the individual citizen has the right to work hard, start out with, we'll say, borrowed capital, continue to work hard, and hope to build a successful business. But there's no guarantee of that success.
No guarantee. That's up to him. It's hard work and management, and that chips fall where they may.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But if that business is successful, it'll help more people than if it fails, won't it?
Oh, of course, it helps a lot of people if it's successful, Jim. Not only through the employment, but through taxes and the expenditures that it makes in advertising and a lot of things that it helps if it's successful.
Because any successful business touches a lot of people's lives.
Yes, it does, yeah.
Any money that you spend, for instance, at this radio station helps to feed my family. And
that's right.
Yeah.
Of course, we like to think that that we're helping the economy in Marion by furnishing employment and all of the other things, like you mentioned, on advertising, taxes, water use, electric, telephones, and maintenance. We feel like we're a big factor in the economy in Marion.
Do you have any plans that you could share with us for the future?
No, we don't have any other plans now that to expand any further at the time being, on account of the way the situation is with the local conditions and national. But we probably, I have an energetic son, you know, and there's no telling what he'll come up with the next few years.
Speaking of your energetic son, I think he was about a year ahead of me in school a long time ago, and I went for 2 or 3 years to the Marion school system. It must have been about the 7th or 8th grade. This would have been around 48 or 49 that Squirt first came out.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, the drink Squirt? And
Yeah.
I remember your son, Harry Jr., driving to school
Your
in
squirt
some
car?
kind of a little squirt car. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah.
do they still make those? Or what was it? Just a golf cart that had been painted up or something?
No, it was a special little car that's put out by the Squirt Company for promotion and advertising purposes, and we bought one of them, and he used it around town there. Of course, he couldn't do that now, the way the situation is now, the safety and regulations on travel.
Right. It has to be licensed, and you have to be
Yeah,
licensed.
yeah, you got to be a licensed driver now. It's different than what it used to be at one time.
What would you say has been the most rewarding experience to you through the years, in the final minute that we have here?
Well, the most rewarding experience to me is the success of the business, and as I sat back and, like you said, drank that Pepsi and Dr. Pepper and enjoy having that beautiful plant over there operating with all these employees and one happy family, and enjoying the results of our work in previous years, Jim.
Of course, you enjoy your grandkids, too. You got
Yeah,
some of
we-
them, haven't you?
Yeah, I have 2 children. I have a daughter, you know, and then I have 10 grandchildren.
10 grandchildren.
Ariel has 6, and then my daughter has 4.
Well, I think you have some energetic children.
Yeah, I have some. I have something to look forward to there.
You certainly do.
Yes.
Mr. Harry L. Crisp, Sr., thank you very much for sharing parts of your life with us. And because of the success and the service you've given to this community in Southern Illinois, Harry L. Crisp, Sr., WGGH salutes you.